All right, I'd like to introduce our second speaker is Andrea Saliba. And I really like this first part actually. It's like with an honors degree in philosophy from Wesley College. Andrea Saliba has always been obsessed with knowledge, ethics, and the truth. As a dancer trained in jazz dance, she became confused when she encountered back pain and tension from simply breastfeeding her baby 21 years ago. As most people do, she went to the chiropractor weekly and received temporary relief, but not full resolution of the back pain. Her curiosity, thirst for knowledge, and desire for postpartum recovery led her on a deep study and exploration of yoga, Pilates, and a posture method that changed her life. This posture method helped her find her natural alignment while sitting, standing, bending, walking, driving, and sleeping. After learning this method, Andrea had no more back pain or tension and never needed to see the chiropractor again. She found her calling by sharing this method with the world to help people live without pain or tension. She founded MindfullyFit so that people could find comfort and feel empowered in their bodies. She used her background in pioneering emerging concepts to educate all people, especially fitness and yoga professionals, about the importance of posture and natural alignment. For 17 years, she has been dedicated to this calling, helping people understand the truth about posture and being a healer of back pain. She is here to talk with us tonight about ending back pain holistically and permanently. Please welcome Andrea Saliba. Thank you.
I am very honored and excited to be with all of you tonight. Thank you to Susan for inviting me, and thank you so much to Randy and the AV team for getting me set up. I have been dedicated to a calling, a very serious calling, and I am very determined to make a difference in this world in the following 3 ways. Number 1, I am on a mission to educate the world about the importance of posture, proper posture and alignment. Posture and alignment is actually the key to preventing back pain and tension. It's also the cure to ending back pain and tension. We're going to talk about that today. It's also, since we just heard from Dr. Miller about anti-aging, it's also the key to reversing premature aging of the spine. So you can actually reverse premature aging through just understanding about posture and alignment. And finally, if you're interested in fitness, it is the foundation of all fitness, mobility, range of motion, flexibility. It is the key. Secondly, I am very determined to educate the world about what posture is and what it isn't, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of myths and a lot of ignorance in that area, unfortunately. And thirdly, I'm really committed to helping people find their natural alignment. I've been working with people for many years, and I also want to work with yoga studios and yoga teachers and fitness educators to get more reach. So who am I? As I said before, I've been helping people eliminate back pain and tension for about 17 years. I am a health and wellness educator, knowledgeable about many different things. I'm very passionate about posture, alignment, ergonomics, all of movement, and I consider myself a holistic healer for the past 17 years. Very interested in what I've been working on is physical health and wellness. The past 10 years, I've also expanded into more emotional, spiritual elements as well, and lots of different things we can talk about. But I have been drug-free for the past, 20 years or something. I don't even take aspirin or Tylenol or anything, so that's another perspective. So I do consider myself a preventative health expert. I'm also a dancer, so dance is my passion. It is what I spend my time doing. I dance and train for about 30 hours a week, which if you think about what that is like, normally my Thursday nights I'm teaching hip hop at 5:15. I'm doing lyrical jazz rehearsal at 6:30 to 8. And then I'm rehearsing my belly dance at about from 8 to 9. So that's just a typical evening for me. So mobility is critical to me. And I have been dancing for a long time, 28 years. You can see I also perform on a regular basis, 5 different troupes, jazz and hip hop. I most recently have been invited to join the repertory dance company at Foothill College, which I'm very honored and excited about, dancing with 18 and 19-year-olds. So that hopefully will give you some encouragement that we can be mobile at any age. So, but what I want to say is that I was not always a posture educator. I used to have a different career. And I also, so what we're going to talk about tonight is the epidemic problem of back pain. So over 80% of all Americans have or will have debilitating back pain at some point in their life, according to the American Medical Association. I actually think the statistic is probably higher in real life. So how many of you have ever had back pain or tension? Okay. So I had back pain and tension, like Randy said, 21 years ago when I was breastfeeding my kids. And I was really like going, what is going on here? Because I was dancing 5 days a week as a jazz dancer. My body was I was very thin and I looked great. I was in really great shape. So I'm like, why do I have back pain? What is going on here? And so I went to the chiropractor every week, like what people do. And, it would help me like for a few hours or something, and then it wouldn't go away. So I later learned that chiropractors solve the symptom of back pain. They don't cure back pain. And then I did some more research, and I discovered a method that is based on 30 years of longitudinal research coming out of Le Plume Institute in France, where they studied the spines of people in developing countries, like rural Indonesia, rural India, rural Africa, rural South America. And they discovered that even though all of these disparate populations, have never met, they all have the exact same spine. So we're gonna talk about that. And so I studied this method. I never had back pain ever again. No more. Never needed to see a chiropractor. So I actually changed careers, true story, because of that. Because I thought, this is so important. We really need to tell the world about this. This is better than rocket science. So obviously, for employers, it's a huge problem. It's also a big problem for everybody. So the bigger problem is that most people have no idea what good posture is. So I tell people, well, before I say anything, what do you think about this gentleman? Do you think he has good posture? Do you think he's standing up straight? Any comments? Anybody think he has good posture? I'm sorry?
Fat in the belly.
You think he's fat in the belly? That's interesting. Okay, so basically what I want to say is that when I tell people that I am a posture educator, the very first thing they do is this. I better stand up straight if I'm talking to you. Well, does this look like I have good posture? Okay, so we're gonna talk about what good posture is, but obviously there is global ignorance about this subject. It's a huge problem. So I'm here to help educate you all. We're gonna go back to that gentleman. So probably the biggest problem, so one problem is kind of ignorance around what good posture is. Most people are in denial. I teach Pilates and yoga on a daily basis, and I see people that are really tucked and they don't have very much flexibility, and I tell them, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. And some people jump on it, and other people are just in complete denial. So the biggest problem, in my opinion, is that people that are aware of their back problem, they know they have a problem, what do? They go to the medical industry. They go to their doctor. Well, doctors are great when it comes to drugs. They know how drugs can solve lots of problems. They are great when it comes to surgery. They know how surgery can solve problems. but they're not really experts in the area of preventative health, and they really haven't actually studied spinal health. It's not something that they study in medical school. So chiropractors, we already talked about, they only solve the symptom of back pain. Physical therapists, this is like a pet peeve of mine. A lot of people will go to physical therapists for their back pain. Well, physical therapists, in my opinion, are typically trained about muscles. They're trained in muscles. You know, if a muscle atrophies, they can show you exercises so they can build back that muscle. Well, or they can give you maybe some stretching exercises for your back or something like that. But the truth is that when you have an issue with back pain, it's postural. And what that means is it has to do with your bones. It has to do with your skeleton. So it's not a muscle issue. So I just want to tell you two stories because I think that's the best way to communicate. Actually, I have two anesthesiology stories. One is that, as I said, for the past 17 years, I've been helping people permanently end back pain. So people that come to me have chronic back pain, most of the time I can solve it in an hour, okay? I mean, this is crazy, but it's true. And it's not my method. I will give credit to my teachers later in the discussion. So it's not my method, but it works. I was working with an anesthesiologist who lives in Sausalito, and he had back pain, and I showed him all the postural mistakes he was making. I showed him what the corrections were, and then I put him in a sitting position where he had no pain or tension. And most of the time, my clients are just blissed out. They look 10 years younger. They're really happy. But he started crying. And I said, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And he was crying real tears. And he said, I can't believe this. He goes, I spend my life and my profession as an anesthesiologist giving people anesthesia for cortisone shots for back pain. And then I put them under anesthesia for back surgery. And he's like, you just cured my back pain in 1 hour, holistically, without doing anything. And so he was crying because he knows that the medical industry isn't helping. This is my client, okay? So that's why I'm telling you the story. And so he was adamant to get me into the hospital where he works. There was no incentive, right? What's the incentive in helping cure back pain? Oh, well, we won't have any patients anymore, right? That's no profit for the hospital. Okay. So my brother, this is also a true story, which I hate to even, well, I guess I will say this, but yeah, my brother had back surgery. My brother is an anesthesiologist, and he has had back surgery, and he is not doing well. So I don't think back surgery is the solution. My other story, I have a very dear friend who I love, is an orthopedic surgeon. He makes a lot of money. He's very successful, very, very successful, well-esteemed person. He's actually familiar with this posture method that I teach. And I said, so what's the deal? If I just teach people how to sit correctly and stand, and is this gonna help? Will this solve major back surgery issues? He said, yeah. He said, I probably wouldn't have a job anymore if you educated the world about this. So yeah, what if there was a cure to back pain and a way to also avoid injury? So I forgot to mention that not only does good posture help you with fitness and mobility, ends back pain, prevents back pain, but it also helps you avoid injury. So how many times have you heard of people that had tennis elbow, or they were, they had this accident, or they had this issue when they were playing basketball, or they were running? Oh, somebody got injured running. You always hear these stories, and I would argue that it wasn't tennis that was the problem, or the basketball, or whatever they were doing. The issue really is they brought bad alignment, bad posture to whatever activity they were doing, and then they got injured. So can you really blame the activity? I don't think so. So if you, the way to avoid back pain also helps you improve mobility, range of motion, and it also does reverse premature aging, which I will talk about. So the solution is back pain and joint pain, because I've had a lot of clients with like knee problems and foot problems, which I've been able to solve with this method. It's, I believe, 100% preventable and curable, so this is a very good story. Again, it comes from 30 years of longitudinal research from Institut de Plum in France. There's a woman by the name of Noelle Perez. Afterwards, if you're interested, I can give you the website of that institute if you want to do some more research. But it is based on a 30-year study where they studied the postures of all these people in developing rural countries like Bali and Portugal, Costa Rica. And these people have no incidence of back pain, no obesity, and my favorite slide, this is a man, so not only do they have no back pain, but this is a man who's actually carrying a table and 4 chairs. And he is not young. He's probably about 70. That's what we would guess. So this is pretty impressive. This is in Bali. So just take that in. It's pretty impressive, right? So the percentage of population with back pain, this is an issue that affects industrialized society, industrialized countries. So people in the more rural agricultural countries, they don't have this issue. So I always tell my clients, get primitive, right? Get down. Like when I work with my male clients, I'm like, find your inner caveman. We can do this, you know? So a lot of it has to do with that, and we'll go into detail. But these, women in Hawaii, in the taro fields, they're basically working like this all day long, and they basically have flat backs, right? They have perfectly flat backs, so they can do that work because their spine is straight. So why do we have back pain? So this is really a huge insight. Everybody is born in perfect alignment. So a lot of times people will say, well, I have scoliosis. And I'll say, well, were you born with scoliosis? Because probably they didn't have it when they were born, right? So every single person in this world is born in perfect alignment. So the spine is completely straight. Well, we're going to go into that. Basically, there's just one curve in the spine between the sacrum and the pelvis right here. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But children from when they're newborn all the way until they're 3, they enjoy infinite mobility. So if you remember back to when you were 3 or you have any 3-year-olds in your life, you could do like somersaults around the house. You have lots of mobility, lots of playfulness in the body. So what the studies have shown and the research shows that all children are pain-free, at a minimum and through age 3. So then what happens after age 3? So there's this concept called postural echoing. So I'm not trying to make you guys feel bad or anything, so don't feel bad, because this is osmosis. It's a societal problem. But there is this concept of postural echoing where after age 3, children begin to mimic the postures of their parents and their caregivers and all of society, and they go out of alignment. So you can see, this is really, it's a big problem. You can see how tucked, this girl is really tucked in the butt. And, you have all of this rounding. So first of all, I guess I should explain, first of all, what is good posture? Okay, we're going to get into that. But the main element of good posture, most important thing, is that there is only one curve in the spine. Only one curve, and it's between the sacrum and the pelvis right here. You can lift this up, right? So it's right here. So what that means is your butt is behind you. They call it a behind because it's supposed to be behind you. Unfortunately, most people have their butts severely tucked and their pelvis is pushed forward. So I'll do it again. Their butts are tucked and pushed forward. In fact, if we have time, we're going to do a little exercise at the end. So there's a lot we can do here. But basically, that is the root cause of most back pain, is your pelvis placement. So what's interesting is that in the Victorian era, we didn't have back pain as a society. And I've been told by some medical doctors that if you look at medical anatomy textbooks from the Victorian era before, they also show this, that the spine is straight, just one curve between the sacrum and the pelvis. Whereas, I guess, anatomy, more current, more modern anatomy books show some kind of S-curve or something. I don't know. So, but basically, what's interesting about this is, again, you see a straight spine, more or less, and then women used to wear those, remember those big bustiers, I guess they're called? So, bustles, that's right, not bustles, thank you. So that bustle is for your behind, right? And women would stand up nice and straight in the Victorian era. So we didn't have this problem before. So does anybody know what happened in the 1920s? Can you guys take a guess? I'm sure you're all very smart audience. What do you think happened in the 1920s to cause a problem?
High heels.
Yes, I'm sorry? So what happened in the 1920s?
What did she say? Automobile? High heels.
High heels, right. So the 1920s was the advent of the fashion industry, right? And what else happened? What was the fashion in the 1920s? Flappers, yes. So I will show you. The advent of flappers and the fashion industry in the 1920s brought about a change in posture. So here I am in the Victorian era, standing up nice and straight with my big bustle. And then now it's going to be, I'm going to get my big cigarette. Oh, hi, right? So notice what my hip did. My pelvis is pushed way forward, right? I want to be, sexy or fashionable or whatever it is, right? So women started doing these weird things, right? And if you look at old Vogue magazines or whatever, you can see this. But women would push their pelvises forward. And so that's what happened. That's the history. So the truth about natural alignment, so this is what is good posture. Here's your answer. 3 attributes. 3. Number 1, the only curve in your back is between your sacrum and your pelvis, right here. So again, that means that your butt is behind you. If your butt is tucked under, you do not have good alignment.
Can you demonstrate this? Could you come a little bit more forward?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, because you couldn't see. Yeah, I didn't want to wear this, but anyway, normally I try to demonstrate. So this is more or less good alignment, right? But when most people have modern posture, their butt is severely tucked and their pelvis is pushed forward, like this. So like when I tell people I teach Pilates, hey, I teach Pilates, check out my 6-pack, this is how people walk in the fitness industry. They walk around like this, check me out, right? This is not good posture, right? I mean, do you see? This is modern posture. This is what people think is acceptable. This is modern posture. This is so held. It's just a disaster, right? It's exhausting. So the only curve in your back is between your sacrum and your pelvis. There's a single access through the body. So if I had a key at the end of a string, that would create a plumb line, right? That would be through the body like that, through the spine. And then the body's in a state of total and complete relaxation and harmony. So the most important thing, well, let's just go ahead. Well, let me just tell you right now. When the pelvis is in the right place, the vertebra from the spine stack in gravity. So you're being held up by gravity. The bones are supporting you structurally, and your muscles are in a state of complete and total relaxation. So just take that in, because most people think, oh, stand up straight, I better suck in my belly. Oh, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. All this stuff that we're told is all wrong. Women are just walking around sucking in their belly. That's not alignment. They're hiding their butts. This is like a chronic thing. It's like, what, are we not supposed to have butts? Butts are beautiful. So part of my job is to actually encourage you to please not hide your butt, because that's what's causing back pain. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. So the truth about natural alignment, again, this is a really great picture. I love this picture because you can really see how straight the spine is there. It's just rising up, just like I said, that the vertebrae are stacked in gravity on top of the pelvis. And so these are just, you can see this is a butt. This is a healthy butt. This is what we're supposed to look like. And this is my goal when I work with clients of all ages. And I will explain that in a minute. But it's really important to just take that photo in. Okay, again, one curve in the spine, so this is, you can see that same thing, right? So the other thing is, it's also, there's a single axis line through the spine. So most people, they have their butts tucked and their pelvis is pushed forward. And so what does that do? If my butt is tucked and my pelvis is pushed forward, I would be falling backwards, right? But I have to compensate some way. So then I go like this. What is that? That's the premature aging hump that we see, right? When people get older, they just think, oh, they're older. No. Their pelvis is not in the right place. It's not in its natural place. If it was in its natural place, they wouldn't have that hump. So a lot of what I'm doing is trying to help people untuck their butt. Their pelvis needs to be in the right place. So I can talk about this for a long time, but basically, what you want to see is that this is the pelvis tucked and the pelvis pushed forward, and then you get that premature aging hump. You see this posture a lot. You see also this posture a lot. People have their weight in their toes. So they're standing, but their weight is not in their heels. When you have good alignment, I will give you one huge tip. You can think about the foot like a triangle, right? Your heel should have 80% weight in it. Your metatarsal should have 10% on one side, 10% on the other side. So 20% of your weight should be in your metatarsal. Most people have most of their weight in their toes, over their toes. This is not right. This is not right. So this is a painful posture. This is a painful posture, and then this is pain-free with the single axis point. This is also my teacher, Jean Couch, who spoke here, I believe, years ago. A little bit about Jean. She's a pretty amazing woman. She studied yoga for many, many years in India with Iyengar himself and published many yoga books. And then she threw out everything that she learned, including all her published books, because she realized that she was in bad alignment, even though she was this yoga guru. So just a little bit about her. We can talk more about her. She's pretty amazing. So again, single axis through the spine. You can pretty much see that here. And this is, I cannot emphasize this enough. So the body is in a state of total harmony. So I know you guys have talked a lot about cortisol and all of that. You really want to be stress-free. Another problem I see chronically is that people are locked. They're locked in their knees, right? When you lock your knees like this, sorry, I'll stand over here so you can see. So when you're locked in the knees, meaning you're flexing your knees, this is not natural to the body. This is me adding tension into the body. This is relaxed. This is normal. So you want to be having bent knees, but look around and notice. Most people are holding so much tension in their bodies. They're flexing, they're pulling in, they're tucking, they're lifting their sternum. This is what I see. It's just a big mess. But yeah, when everything is working correctly, your bones are supporting you. I kind of think of it like stacked bridges and suspension bridges, if any of you have like a civil engineering background. You know, stacked bridges, they're just being held up, right? suspension bridges, if you are not in alignment in the pelvis, then your muscles have to kick in and compensate for the lack of alignment. And that's where back pain and tension and all the problems come. So basically, if you have any pain or tension, so as a holistic healer, also I've studied a lot of somatic therapy and work like that. If you have pain or tension, it's really important to be aware of that. That is your body's way of telling you something's wrong. You're out of alignment. And your body wants to heal itself. You don't need to go to a doctor for this. I mean, I'm interested in empowering people with the knowledge so that they can cure themselves. So, yeah. So basically, so what I'm trying to say about that last slide is that, if you're noticing that there's some pain or tension, I really think you should pay attention to it. It's very important. It's your body's signal to the brain to say, you got to do something different here. So please pay attention. A lot of people live in pain. They live in chronic pain, and they just accept it, and there's no need to accept it. And I'll just tell you right now, just jump to the chase, because the beautiful golden lining, silver lining of this whole talk is that if you are alive, your spine is alive, which means your bones and your skeleton, it's organic. Your bones are organic. They're always growing and responding to the way you're sitting, the way you're standing, the way you're bending, the way you're walking, the way you're driving a car, the way you're sleeping at night. So you want to be really mindful of all that. And you want to learn about how to find your correct alignment, your natural alignment, so that your muscles don't have to overwork. So also, the neck is an extension of the spine. So I love looking at these, ancient pieces. They're little relics that we can learn from, right? So I tell my clients a lot, remember, don't have this dangling head, right? But again, if your pelvis is tucked and your pelvis is pushed forward, if you're not hunching over here, you're probably throwing your neck forward, right? Because otherwise you'd be falling backwards. So you have to compensate somehow. So that's where neck pain comes from. A lot of people have their head dangling in front. So this is really a big deal because your head, I know there's a lot of doctors in the room, it weighs a lot, right? It's like the weight of almost a bowling ball. So you really want to have that head, sitting right on top of the spine. So I always tell my students in yoga, your neck is an extension of the spine. So in every single pose, whatever we're doing, it's like, don't just, when you lift your chin, you're basically going out of alignment. So a lot of people walk around like that, not good. So again, look at that neck. So beautiful, right? And notice her chin. Her chin is down, right? So you want to keep your chin, you want to try to keep your chin down, especially if you're exercising. This is another beautiful photo. So this is a huge, huge thing. Your bones are dynamic. They are not static. How you sit, how you stand, how you bend, how you walk, how you drive, and how you sleep shapes your spine. So I studied this method really deeply for a long time, like many years. I really invested a lot of myself into it because I want to be able to dance until I'm 100. What's the point of living a long life if you're not living a high quality of life? Mobility is everything to me. Dance is my first love. It's probably going to be my last love. Dance is what I do every day. So the key is that you really want to have good alignment so that you don't have any pain. You want to have a pain-free life. I really think it's important. one thing I can tell you is that when I walk around, I really wanted to do this in pants so you could see better, but anyway, I didn't want to be so informal, but if I come back, I'll wear pants. But basically, when you walk and you're walking around in more or less in alignment, your hamstrings are nice and long. So like when I do certain stretches in yoga where most people are just dying, I don't feel a stretch because I'm just I'm naturally stretching out. Those hamstring muscles are already stretched out. So, but by contrast, most of my students, they're very tucked and their pelvis is pushed forward. So that's where they get that hamstring tightness. So my methodology, how do I work? Awareness is really important. The first thing I do is I talk to people about their postural mistakes that they're making, not to make them feel bad, but just to bring awareness. I tell them the mistake and then the correction, and that's like huge. It takes 21 days to break a bad habit and 21 days to make a habit. So that's all it takes. Oops. So I really encourage all of you to learn how to be in natural alignment. It's worth an investment. I'm not interested in being like a chiropractor where you have to come and see me all the time, but I just want to empower you with the information so that you can cure yourself. But it does help to learn how to do these things. If you don't want to work with me, there's other people and other resources I'm happy to give to you. So you want to just practice the guidelines for sitting in your natural alignment, for bending, standing, walking, driving. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is these are a few of my clients. I took out their faces to protect their, but you can see that this butt this is the man you saw before. He is tucked here. Pelvis is pushed forward, and then you see this premature aging of the spine. So I would not say that he has a belly problem. No, his belly.
The fact that he looks lean, his belly is further forward than I'd expect him to be.
Right, but he doesn't have a belly problem. He has a postural problem. So I just want to, yes.
The observation was.
Yes. So the issue there is that it's just the pelvis is not in the right place, and that's mainly what I see for most of my clients. So I teach them how to sit so that their butt is behind them, and then they're pretty relaxed. So one thing I will say, I'll say a couple things. First of all, Dr. Miller was really great when he said, association is not causation, right? So that is a really good one. Because what I will tell you is that our sedentary lifestyle is not the cause of back pain. Just because you sit all day long doesn't warrant you to have back pain, no. Just to the contrary. So sitting is not the problem. It's the way people sit. Sitting is not the problem. If you sit correctly and you learn how to sit correctly so that your butt is behind you, that's actually the solution. So yeah. And then one thing I will also say, I always have to figure out like how much to say, what not to say, but I will say that 100% of the people that were sitting in the front row before, I was just observing a lot of people were crossing their legs. So don't cross your legs. If you cross your legs, what happens is you will develop length in one leg longer than the other, right? You will develop a lopsidedness. That's how lopsidedness happens. It's as simple as that. Not just from crossing your legs, also from you want to have even weight in both feet. So we can talk more about that. So I guess that's pretty much it. I wanted to save time for questions. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, I think it's got to be kind of funny. I'm sitting there trying to listen to her. Okay, so she's got to be seeing people squirming in their seats, going like, okay, let me put my butt back and stuff like that. So great talk. So who does have a question? Right over here. Okay.
So you talked about yoga and Pilates. So what about Tai Chi? They have a certain stand that they teach everyone and how they perform the.
Do you want to show me?
Tai Chi. Oh well, you know they're standing like you bend your legs.
Yes,
and
you always want to bend.
Actually, you tuck in a little bit, and yeah, you align your to the. You don't do this or this. And you stand relaxed. So you keep this straight, but you tuck your...
So if you're tucking your tailbone under, that's not relaxed.
That's what they
That's not relaxed,
do,
right?
yeah.
Does it feel relaxed to you?
Yeah, it does.
Really?
So I remember like they like tell you to
How
like,
can you bend
is
your
there-
knees if you don't... Yeah, I have to
How can you
experiment
bend
with
your
that.
knees if what?
And not tuck your...
And not tuck?
Yeah,
Yeah, so when you bend your knees, right, so bend your knees.
and so I'm not tucking now.
So bend your knees a lot.
Yes, a lot more.
Right, so where's your weight in your feet?
Even, pretty much. Maybe a little bit more forward, yeah.
Right, your knees are over, see how your knees are over your toes right now?
Yeah, right. Well, I would
Yeah.
not bend it that much.
No, you should bend your knees, but you should keep your knees over your heels. So I'm happy to help you at some point.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, what you want to
Yeah.
do is you want to have your knees bent, but notice my knees are bent, but my knees are over my heels. My knees are not like this. This is not
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
This is good.
So, okay.
But if you're tucked and doing that,
Interesting, yeah, okay.
oh, the other thing I want to mention is that the way I kind of think of it, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but as a dancer and a movement educator, I think of like the pelvis almost like a shelf, you know, and it's like a shelf and the spine's just sitting on top of it. So it's like, you know, at any point of the day, I can just lift up one leg. I'm in heels, who cares, right? Here's the other leg. Because my butt is in the right place, right? It's just, everything is just stacked. If I was tucked and tried to do that,
okay.
right?
Question
It's like physics, right? If any of you have studied, I've not studied physics, but it seems to make physical sense to me.
I want to say something about sleep posture.
Yes. What,
How should what should one's posture be when you sleep?
Like, is it a back sleeper versus side sleeper?
yes, so I'm,
Hard versus soft match.
Okay, hard, soft mattress, backside, what?
yeah, so well, let me first answer that by answering a different question, and then I'll get back to it. So a lot of people ask me about chairs before we talk about mattresses. It's way, way, way easier to sit properly on a hard chair. So when I teach my classes and my privates, do you see that chair in the back? Oh, do you see these chairs here? These
The folding chairs.
the metal folding chairs with the hole in the back. Those are the very best chairs you can sit in because, like, if you worked with me, you would be able to get your butt cheeks through the hole. That's literally how I teach, so that we're kind of compensating for the years and years and years of tucking, right? So we're getting,
Exaggerating the other direction.
yeah, but
You said
actually,
exaggerating the other direction, yeah.
I mean, you could call it exaggerating, but the way I was trained, it's like you really actually want to have your sits bones behind you. So you don't even want them under you, you want them behind you, ideally, so that everything can just be in a resting position. And when you sit like that, it really feels good. But I would not encourage you to try this on your own. I mean, I really think it's good to work with an expert on it. But in terms of the mattresses, I mean, I'm not an expert about that, but I would say that, you know, you don't want to be tucked, right? So again, if you're sleeping like this, you know, I mean, sometimes I do this, it's like really bad. But, you know, there's a way to sleep so that a lot of what I do when I'm working one-on-one with people is helping to release the pelvis, release the butt, because people are tucked. People are really like constricting and their muscles are overworking, and I'm sure you all know that muscles only work functionally if they can contract and release. So if it's always in a state of contraction, it's not going to be very functional. So you want to really let your butt relax as much as possible. That's gonna set you all up for success in the rest of the body. So we kind of work with the pelvis first.
Oh, okay.
And
You
there
asked
is
your
a
question.
certain way, there is a technique. I mean, we can talk more about it afterwards if you're interested.
Okay. All right, question back here. And then,
Any comment about what's the proper way to work on a computer?
Yes, I mean, of course.
great question for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, so again, remember I told you I am determined to make a difference in the 3 ways, right? Importance of posture, telling you what good posture is, and then working with people to help them find their natural alignment. So I only covered the first 2 today. I'm not going into showing you your natural alignment, but you want to sit in your natural alignment first. That's the most important thing. Then once you find that position, most likely you're actually going to be leaning forward. So again, this is the modern posture, or probably what all of your postures are, is tucked,
you might
pushed forward.
relax with people.
Yeah, okay. So it's tucked, pushed forward. This is what modern posture is. So most likely when you're sitting in a chair, you're kind of slouching or tucked or whatever. You might be leaning back, like that. So you want to first be sitting, I mean, a really easy way to do it is just try to find a flat back, right? I'm in a skirt, it's a little hard. But you want to try to find a flat back and then sit. And then I usually tell my posture clients, you don't get to recline, because reclining is like graduate level posture work. If you're like beginner posture person, like 101, you want to just be sitting at the edge of your seat kind of a thing. And then you just want your keyboard to be here. And then, of course, we talked about the neck, right? So you don't want to be lifting up. So you want to make sure your chin is down. So usually when I work with my clients and I go to their homes or their places of work, I usually bring the screen down, the keyboard down. That's usually what ends up happening, because they might be like this, and then when we get them fixed, they're like this. Does that make sense? And then you just want to have, your elbows close into your, like this, and you don't want to be lifted. You just want it to be like that. But the most important thing, I think, is your neck is an extension of the spine, right? So you don't want to be lifted up. So most of the times, I just bring everything down.
Okay, we had a hand over here.
Demonstrate. Well, yeah, I mean, I really would encourage you to, I can show you a video if you're interested or something, but,
Okay, next question.
it would, yeah.
I was just a little curious about the history. You mentioned chairs. How much
Yes.
are chairs conforming to the way that people sit wrong over time?
Oh my God, great question. Such a great question. So my biggest pet peeve is the stand-up desks. That makes me crazy. So that's kind of like a new trend because people are sitting too much. It's like, So in my training, I didn't invent this work, right? So I trained in it, and I really believe it works because I have a lot of mobility in my body, and my clients do too, as a result of it. But people are really into this whole stand-up desk thing. And from my training, when I work with my clients, the first thing I do is I teach them how to sit correctly. So that's the very first thing. And then they can sort of get into that, right? They can sit more naturally. It feels good. Then from there, they can learn standing. But sitting is a prerequisite for standing. Standing is a lot harder to find. What I'm talking about is standing in your natural alignment. It's not easy to find. So if people are having trouble sitting, they're definitely going to have even worse time standing. So the stand-up desks are not a solution. I'm sorry. I don't think they are. Did that answer your question? Yeah, and then chairs, I mean, I could go on for hours about chairs and shoes. Shoes are like such a big problem. All those sneakers with like the curved up toes and oh my gosh, such a mess.
Oh, no, just earlier you say you're going to teach some kind of exercise. Can you?
Oh, well, okay, so I was just going to do a little thing where if everybody wants to stand up.
Yeah, let's do it.
So stand up, find a partner. Find a partner.
Okay.
So find a partner. Okay, now pick A and B. Pick A and B. Somebody's A and somebody's B. So now A, turn around.
What?
Okay.
So your back is to the other person?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, you know, if you're having something hanging, you have to lift it up so they can see your. Yeah. So just, lift up so that if you're wearing pants, this doesn't really work with a skirt, but if you're
Okay.
wearing pants, just lift up whatever you have so that the person can look at you, if that's okay. If you don't want to consent to this, you don't have to. But just look at the person's, pelvis and butt and notice if there's a crease. Do you see a crease?
A crease. So
This.
Are you trying to actually look at the skin or?
No.
Oh,
Just clothing on, please.
Thank you.
Do you see this? Do you see this, what I'm showing here? Do you see how there's a crease? Do you see
at
there's
the
a crease?
bottom of the butt.
Yeah. You know, they call it like smile lines or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So if you see a crease underneath the butt cheek, see
Yeah.
this gentleman here, Susan?
here.
You can see how he's got a little bit of a crease there? So if you see a crease, raise your hand.
I don't know if crease is good or bad yet. We'll find out soon.
Let me see if I can show an example. See, do you mind being an example? You don't have to. Does anybody want to be an example? Okay, come up
Come
here.
on over here. So stand right here so we
Well,
can get a good shot of you.
He's not the best
Okay,
example.
you need to turn around
That's
so
not
that
the
everybody
best
else
example.
can. Not the best.
Not the best example.
Am I
but,
a good example? Okay. Steve says I'm a good example.
You're a good example?
I'm a good. He says he thinks
me
I'm a
see.
good example. Am I?
Yeah, you are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you mind, Randy?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, so stand right here. Just
Okay.
stand up.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys see how there's a crease here?
Oh, that's.
Do you see that?
Butt.
That's tucking.
There you go. Yep, I'm tucking.
That is like really big tucking. And do you see how his pelvis is forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so where do you feel your weight?
I'm probably about 65% on the balls of my feet.
Yeah, that's good awareness. That's actually very impressive. I would say you're correct. So you want to go ahead and bring your weight 100% into your heels. Oh, look what just happened. Does everybody see that? Did everybody just see that? So that's an example of how I work.
Here.
So that's the first thing I tell my clients. Put 100% of your weight in your heels, like you could lift up your toes.
It actually feels uncomfortable to me to do that.
It does?
It does.
Well, because
I've been used to. Yeah, I'm so used to doing it the other way. Yeah.
So I want to say a couple things. So I can't cure everybody's backs right this moment, but I would be happy to either refer you to somebody or there are cards, there's a sign-up sheet. If you're interested in a session, it's the same price if it's one person or 10 people. It's not expensive, but I really need to spend like an hour with you, like a full hour that's dedicated, and I have a lot of integrity with my work. And I will say that I guarantee, money-back guarantee that you will feel better than when you walked in, and if you don't, I'm happy to return your money. So what I will do is I will put you in a state of total relaxation where the vertebrae are just stacked on top of the spine. When you're sitting, I'll put you in a nice sitting position. There's a lot involved in it, and I will also tell you that you will feel good, you will feel pain-free, it will not feel familiar to you.
Yeah. It feels very unfamiliar.
So if you have any back pain or tension, and if you want to be more of a model, I can talk more about it, but I mean more about your spine. I don't know if you want that.
We're retraining people to feel the natural way is the right way.
Yeah, exactly. So I work with people one-on-one. It's a big process. It's a really deep process. You end up releasing a lot of like toxins, and you have to drink a lot of water and stuff. It's pretty deep work. It's like somatic healing almost. So,
Okay.
but yeah, like so if you feel like you have a premature aging hump, we can fix it. Oh, I forgot to tell you an important story. I'll just end with this story where I did my training.
I guess you can relax and sit down now if you want.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, you
You like standing now? Or is enjoying standing?
I mean, we
Okay.
could do more, but anyway,
That's all right.
I can
we're good.
talk afterwards.
Up to you. Yeah, we can have
can-
questions. So go ahead.
Yeah, so where I did my training, we had a woman that came in and she had scoliosis and she was going to have surgery for her scoliosis. And she said, can you guys help me just prepare for the surgery? And we said, yeah, come on in. And we just taught her how to sit correctly and stand and bend and walk and drive. It's not something that happens in 5 minutes, right? We worked with her for a few months. And then she went back to her orthopedic surgeon and she didn't need the surgery anymore. So that's a true story. So but it takes time and it's not like a quick fix. So I will end with what I started with at the beginning, which is that I cannot emphasize to you enough how important posture is and investing in your postural health. So it's worth an investment to just spend an hour at least to learn about how to sit correctly. I mean, ideally, you'd want to have like 5 sessions to learn how to sit and bend and stand and walk and drive your car and sleep. And so there are techniques in terms of sleeping. You can sleep on your back or your side, and I'm trained in both of those ways. So, but yeah, it's worth it. And then you'll have it for the rest of your life. And if you ever have back pain or tension, which, sometimes like I'll go, oh, what was that? And then I just know exactly what to do to fix it. So you
Great.
can cure yourself.
Okay. Well, why don't we wrap it up for tonight? I want to
Yeah, if you have questions, I'm around.
Yeah.
So.
have some more questions, but I mean, whether people come to you or you go, what's important is that people get awake to the idea that their back pain doesn't have to be, can be resolved.
Can be resolved,
in these kinds of ways that you hadn't considered before. That maybe in an hour you could get rid of pain that's been with you for years, and that's really quite phenomenal. So thanks for making us aware of that. Why don't we go ahead and end the formal part of the evening? If you have more questions,
Yeah, I'm here.
for Andrea, she'll be right here. You can come up and speak with her or get her card.
wasn't a good
And
example.
thank you. Good night.
My posture.
We'll see you next time. Third Thursday. I don't know what the date of that is, but third Thursday of November. Okay. Yeah, right before Thanksgiving. Thank you. Good night.